Hey guys, it's Zach here, back again with another video, finally, after quite a while of not posting anything. And I just wanted to make this video to kind of give an update on where things are right now and what's coming in the future pretty soon. So let's get started. So I've had a few comments and questions from people, so I wanted to address just a few of them now. Also, really quick before I forget, let me just thank people who have subscribed over the past little while. I really appreciate it. I've gotten some new subscribers, and that really means a lot. So if you guys like these kinds of videos and you're not currently subscribed, please do so. It really helps a lot. Please comment, like, all that kind of stuff. So I had a few questions from people, and one of them was if Logic was available on Windows, and if it wasn't, what were some alternatives that people could use? So unfortunately, Logic is an Apple product, so it's not on Windows, but what may interest some people is that it actually used to be. Back in the 90s and like early 2000s, Logic was actually made by another company called eMagic, who was bought by Apple, I believe, in 2001 or 2002, somewhere around there. And they had a Mac and a Windows version of Logic. So you could use Logic, and you had the same software on both. Now, that didn't mean it was accessible back then, because the Mac at that point, it had a screen reader. It was a different one made by another company back in the 90s. I've never used it, although I would love to try it out. But I don't believe Logic was accessible by any means, but I could be wrong on that. So yeah, Logic was available on Windows for a time. It's not anymore and has not been for several years now. Like more than 10 years at this point. So what do we do? Well, there are a few alternatives. A lot of people like Reaper. Reaper is another DAW made by a company called Locators, and they pretty much, Reaper does everything. And what I mean by that is you can make Reaper behave exactly the way you want. It's really customizable. It's probably one of the most customizable DAWs out there, and you have a lot of control to make it look and behave the way you want it to. So if you want it to look exactly like Logic and mimic all of my key commands but be on Windows, guess what? You can do that. If you wanted it to look like Ableton Live for some reason, you could do that too, or Cubase or whatever else. And it's not just about looks, it's about functionality as well. So Reaper has a lot of functionality, pretty much all the editing features you could want in a DAW. From what I understand, I'm not a Reaper user, so people who use Reaper can probably correct me on some of my points here, but just from the extensive research I've done on Reaper, it has a lot of functionality. I've watched a lot of videos, and I've used Reaper a few times now, and it's great. It's very accessible. There is a plugin for Reaper made by a ton of people called Osara, and that's Osara. I believe it stands for something, but I cannot remember what it stands for right now. I think it's like open source Reaper accessibility something. I'm not totally sure, but it's really awesome. It pretty much provides a lot of the functionality that you just get in Logic by default, like announcing your bar numbers. You're able to edit. It will give you a lot. It'll actually give you some more information than Logic will give you for certain things, and I'm sure Logic will probably get there at some point, but it's great. Osara is really awesome. And I mean, big hats off to the people that maintain and have developed it, because it's really something. So Reaper is an option, and Reaper is actually significantly cheaper than Logic. It's only about $60. And the great thing as well is that Reaper has a fully functional free version. And what I mean by that is that the Reaper, when you download Reaper, what you are getting is essentially a full functioning version of Reaper without any restrictions. Now, you may be thinking, okay, if you're getting that, why are you paying money? Well, first of all, that version is not, you cannot use that for commercial use. You can't do that. As far as I know, I would assume, because While they don't limit you in any way, they suggest that after 60 days, you need to buy a license. Now, there is no way that they can force you to buy a license because because they don't believe in any kind of copy protection. So the application will just continue working. The only thing you will get is like a nag screen and a little timer saying how long you've been using Reaper, and you'll have to wait about 5 seconds before you can start using the program. That's it. Everything else is fully functional. Now, I have a feeling the reason they do that is to allow you to test Reaper for as long as you possibly can before you buy. But I would recommend just buying it. It's $60. You have nothing to lose. And if you are making a certain amount of money, I think it's like $10,000 or more, check the website for details, but there is a commercial license that you can get that I believe is not even that much more expensive. I think it's like $125 from what I recall. So still a lot cheaper than Logic, and I mean, quite frankly, does more. So that's a really good option. Reaper is great software. I did actually think about switching over to it, funnily enough, a few months ago. I was kind of getting stuck with Logic, and I kind of was like, maybe it's time to try something else. There was a DAW comparison that was from a blindness perspective that was released a few months ago, done by a few different people. Logic was on that list. I was not involved in this project in any way. I didn't even really know about it until it came out, but there were a few people on that list who did some different comparisons. And I listened to the ones that were done by the guy, who I believe his name is Scott. He's a really cool guy. And he did Reaper. And I mean, the workflow is so nice. It's really fluid. It makes a lot of sense. It's fast. It's very efficient. And I really do think about switching. And I tried a little bit again after, I've kind of had an on and off relationship with Reaper. I've used it. I've stopped using it. I've used it a little bit more. I've made like, technically I've only made like one song in Reaper, and that was only like a piano thing like 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't really have that much experience, but it does definitely seem like a capable DAW. I will be switching, or not switching. I will be sticking to Logic for the foreseeable future because some of those kind of problems I've worked out more recently. So it's made it a little bit easier for me to just kind of stick with it. And that's kind of a message I want to get across to you, and then I'll come to the next alternative. But don't feel pressured to switch DAWs just because you think, for example, oh, this DAW has so-and-so feature that mine doesn't. Chances are it does, you just don't know where it is. And other people on other mixing and music creation channels have said this exact same thing, that it's not about the gear you use, it's really about how you use it. And I've really learned that over the past few years or so. It's funny, there used to be a time where I really wanted everything. I wanted the latest, keyboard or the latest plugin or whatever. And now I don't know if it's because I have so much or I really don't. I only have a few plugin suites and a Splice subscription. But I think part of it, too, is since switching over to my computer setup and really getting a workflow that works for me, I don't feel like I need to spend thousands of dollars on gear anymore just to get a good sound. I am more willing to just sit and try and make it myself, what with the tools I already have and with samples and whatnot. So that's really something that's amazing about computer-based production, is you don't need to spend all that money. If you want to, I mean, there's nothing stopping you. But in the long run, I've really found, and especially after, you can try a lot of this stuff out and listen to YouTube videos and watch YouTube videos and demos of all this stuff. All of it just sounds the same to me. It's really, there's so many analog synths out there. There are so many delay plugins. I mean, even the free stuff, I don't really bother with. I just stick, especially for effects, I stick with the ones in Logic. I have like a few third-party effects, but most of the stuff I use is just Logic. That's it. And The only third-party plugins I have are stuff by Native Instruments, which that's like really the only thing I would recommend getting, and one synth that I got recently called Carbon Electra, I believe, which is an analog synth that it sounds really good. If you get no other synth, get this one. It's great. The Logic ones are good as well, but I feel like this is an upgrade, and it's super easy to sound design. So yeah, that's kind of my little tangent on gear. But let's go back to the other alternative for Windows, which is another program that's also made in Germany. For those who don't know, Logic was originally made by a German company. eMagic was a German company. So there was another DAW made by another company called Magix, which is, I know it's funny, it's a similar name. I don't believe the two of them are related. It's possible that Magix now has people who used to work on the Logic team. I don't know that at all for sure, but it's interesting that the name is very similar. So they have a program called Samplitude, which is a Windows-only program, unfortunately. And that is accessible as well via the use of JAWS scripts. So if you use the JAWS screen reader by Freedom Scientific, it's a very popular Windows screen reader, you will have a lot of access to Samplitude. This I've never tried, so I unfortunately cannot provide any information on whether it's good, whether, how usable it is, any of that. I apologize. I know there is a trial, but currently I don't have a Windows installation set up, so I really can't test this. If there is interest, I am willing to set aside some time to get a Windows installation set up and give this a go. But I honestly am not the person to go to for this kind of stuff. I am a Logic user. I'm a Mac user primarily. So anything in Windows will be kind of an experiment for me and you watching as well. So please let me know if that's something that you would like. I'd be more than willing to give it a shot, but just let me know in the comments. From what I can gather, Samplitude is very similar to Logic in terms of functionality. You have a lot of the same features. You've got some unique stuff too. And they have, inbuilt sounds. Oh, that's the other thing. Reaper is so customizable that they don't actually give you a ton of synthesizers by default. They give you a lot of effects, but not a ton of synths. So you need to get your own if you don't have some already. That's the only downside I can see to Reaper is there aren't really any plugins that are bundled with it except for some interesting effects. So you will need to get some synths. But there are definitely a lot of free VSTs, especially on Windows, that you can try. And on Mac, if you have complete control, you're set. You don't really need much else for Reaper, unless you need something really specialized. So, yeah, Samplitude is a really good option as well. So now on to kind of the next few things. People have been asking me to do a video on Quick Sampler. I will do that. I have actually just started using Quick Sampler a lot more than I did before. I'm really starting to actually utilize a lot of the features that were introduced back in 10.5, finally. And I'm starting to really see the power of those. So, and I'll come back to that in just a second. But Quick Sampler is really, really cool, especially if you have a sample library. If you're, say, subscribed to Splice, and you found like a one-shot of some guy playing the guitar or something, and you want to make a track based on that, you can just load him into Quick Sampler and play it up and down the keyboard and be really cool. And you can slice up loops as well. So if you have a vocal or some drums and you want to make a kit, you can totally do that and then resequence that. So Quick Sampler is really awesome. I will definitely do a demo of that really soon. Look out for that in the next few days. So yeah, that's kind of about it for questions. Now I just want to turn to a few things that I've, some news and some things I've discovered. So just a quick thing for people that have been following my Native Instruments videos that I did a few years ago for Complete. There is a new update for Complete Control that has just come out over, I think last week. Yeah, last week. And it finally adds the ability for the Complete Control software to read back parameter values in speech. So if you're adjusting a slider, it will now say something like, 0 dB or minus 5 dB. If you're adjusting volume, for example, or some EQ, it'll say, 200 hertz, 500 hertz, things like that. So that's really helpful, especially if you were trying to design a specific sound and you want to know, what frequencies you're adjusting and where you're going. You could hear it before and you could get by, but this is a great improvement. And I'm really hoping that this is finally a step in the right direction in terms of expanding this even further. I think they are finally starting to speed up in terms of adding features. I don't want to jinx it by saying that and then they just stop. But I really hope that this is a step forward. In addition to that, there is a new software by Native Instruments that has been made accessible via the Complete Control keyboards called Machine. And for people who don't know, Machine is a beat production studio kind of environment that lets you put samples on pads and play them like a drum machine, essentially. And I mean, there's a lot more besides that, but it's kind of like their own DAW. And the software itself is completely inaccessible. You can't use it with a screen reader. But if you have, at least for now, please change that because that would be awesome. But for now, until they do change that, if they do, you can use Machine with the Complete Control keyboards. Now, an important thing to note here is it doesn't work with all of them. This is the first time, I believe, that I've seen some accessibility features restricted to a certain set of keyboards. So the only set of keyboards that this works with are the Mark II series of Complete Control S keyboards. So the A series, which is the more affordable line, will not work with this currently, and the old S series, which is the one I have, will not work with this. So unfortunately, I will not be able to test this for you at this time. However, if I get a new S series at some point, I will absolutely do a demo of this for you in case people are interested. So that's sort of the news on Native. Now, one more quick thing. Native Instruments and iZotope have just announced a partnership. And I don't really know what this means in practice. I think they're going to be able to trade different technologies back and forth. iZotope has a pretty good reputation for making things accessible, or at least they used to. I don't know where they are in this space currently. I did actually speak with someone from iZotope a few months ago when I attended a live sort of seminar on iZotope products. And they did say that they did do a kind of an investigation into screen reader support last year. So I believe that they are going to fix some of these bugs that are currently in some iZotope products. I do have some, but I haven't demoed them on the channel because there are accessibility issues that need to be worked out. However, I know they are aware, certainly, that blind people use their products, and we'll see how that pans out in the future. I'm hoping that things will change for the better pretty soon. So that'll be interesting to see. So last kind of bit of news, and then I'm going to end this video for today. I've discovered a few really cool things in Logic that I just wanted to touch on real quick, and that I will be doing more in-depth demos on very soon. So I've discovered a really cool feature in Logic called slip editing, which is new, and it's new in 10.5, and it's been in other DAWs for quite a while. Pro Tools has it. I've used it in Pro Tools before, I believe. Ableton, I believe, also has it. Studio One has it from Presonus. And essentially what slip editing does is allow you to split up a region, at least in Logic, this is how it works. You split up a region into different parts. So let's say I split up a 2-bar region into 8th notes. Then what you can do is you can select one and change the audio that is being triggered on that region. So for example, if I have a drum loop that's kick, snare, but I want the kick and then another kick instead of the snare, I can go to that region that I've got the snare on and move it back, and it will play the kick sample instead of the snare. But here's the important distinction. It's not going to move the region anywhere. It's still going to play on beat 2. It's just playing a different part of the audio. So I'm sure you can kind of start to imagine how powerful this is, because you can make vocal chops super easily with this. So for like EDM or pop, you can juggle break beats like nobody's business with this. I mean, you no longer need to split stuff, move things around, copy, paste, move things over, do all this crazy stuff just to get a result. You can essentially go in, split this how you want, and then just move things around randomly, even if you wanted to, if you don't really care about predictability, and make completely different variations on your patterns, which is super, super awesome. So I will be doing a demo of that soon as well. Probably tomorrow or the next day, I'll be back here doing a demo of that. And one more thing before I go, I will touch on this more next time, but I've also discovered a really cool feature called Locators that allow you, among other things, to completely rearrange sections of your track without needing to copy and paste individual regions over and over. So just a quick example. If I have a verse and a chorus and a verse, and I want to repeat the chorus, normally I would need to go to every single track, find the chorus regions or split them up some way, copy them and paste them into the other section, and do that for every track. If I have 300 tracks, that is a nightmare. No one wants to do that. So instead, I can find where the chorus starts, set my left locator to where that starts, find where the chorus ends, set my right locator there, then go to the end of my verse, and I would copy that section, then I would go to the end of my verse and paste it, and it will copy everything. All the automation, all the regions, all the tempo changes, whatever you need. And then from there, you can edit that to make it sound different. So if you wanted to add something or take something away, you can do that. And it moves the sections of your song out of the way to make room so that it musically makes sense and nothing is overlapping. So it's super easy. You could take out a section if you wanted to remove 2 bars. Maybe you're editing for film and it's too long. You can make it 2 seconds shorter and have it musically make sense. So that's a really powerful feature. I will be touching on that. That'll be my next video. That and slip editing I'll put into one video. Because, I think what we'll do is I'll just make a song, a full beat, a full song with those features alone, just to show you how fast and powerful they are and speeding up your workflow. So yeah, look out for that. I will be back here very, very shortly with some new content. I'm looking to finally be on a little more of a consistent schedule, so let's hope that goes well. Plans could change, but hopefully I will be able to bring you stuff at least once a week. I'm going to try to sort of start taking this a bit more seriously now, because I know I've been a bit sporadic in terms of my video content. So thank you again for all of your support. I really have not said this, but I really do appreciate all of the support that everyone has shown me over the years. Thank you to the new guys who've subscribed. Really appreciate it. Please, please, please leave comments. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know if you have any questions. I try very hard to make sure that this is applicable not only to a blind audience, but also to a sighted audience. I do everything from the keyboard, but I will try to explain things as general as I can. And of course, you can see what I'm doing on the screen. And I really, really appreciate all the support again. Thank you so much. I will see you very soon. Don't forget to subscribe, share it with your friends, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys so much. Bye.